I made a trip out to Dover Street Market in New York today to try a couple new release perfumes that I was looking forward to trying. If you don't know, Dover Street Market is the multi-brand boutique owned by Comme des Garçons, which is a sort of creative avant-garde clothing brand. It's also somewhat of a business empire, and in true Comme fashion, the boutiques kind of continue their avant-garde styling, giving each brand sort of little spaces that they can design and curate. Since I don't have anything to show you here, I figured I might intersperse some photos of the store throughout this video. So usually I don't like to do a review without at least a take-home sample to try, but both of these I figured I probably am not going to buy, and Comme des Garçons is quite hard to get samples from. They do sell sample sets now, which is a really recent thing, but they used to be really hard to get your hands on if you were outside of a major city. Here in New York City, you almost can't throw a stone without finding a boutique that carries Comme des Garçons, so here they're very easy to try. And by that same respect, I sometimes feel like they're easy for me to overlook because they're scents that I've been smelling and living with for years and years and years and years. I still rate the brand extremely highly, and I think there's some of the best fragrances out there for the price. I must say, I was thinking if only everybody would replace their Dior Sauvages or the new ugly Dior Homme or those kind of basic designer things with Comme des Garçons. You can pay the same price but actually have some personality. What a great world we would live in. And while I'm on that kind of overall line critique, I do think they're much more wearable than they might sound. It is an avant-garde brand. They embrace synthetics, sometimes really strange combinations. They certainly do have perfumes like the Odeur series, which are extremely challenging and strange if you're not used to very synthetic, unnatural smells. But overall, they're very light wearing and very easygoing, heavy on woods. It's kind of a signature scent, dry woods. But I think it's their lightness which makes them overall pretty easy to wear across the line for anybody. Also, excuse my voice as I'm on the tail end of a cold, and I tried to make it through this video twice already, and this time I'm not going to stop, so hopefully I don't cough, but I may have to drink some water throughout. So I was really looking forward to this release, which is a collaboration with composer Max Richter. I must say I really like the bottle. Being a composer myself and a musician, it has staff lines like I have before you here on the bottle. So I was super excited to try this. I must say I'm not a huge Max Richter fan. I think he's fine. Far be it for me to kind of crap on a far more successful composer than I, but I've spent a lot of my life and a lot of my academic work studying minimalism in music, so I'm a big fan of minimalism, so that's not my problem. I've written a long thesis about Philip Glass and Steve Reich and theorizing on a sort of aesthetic of minimalism. What's interesting to me about their early works, go do yourself a favor and bliss out to 2 pages by Philip Glass, is they made it so extreme, this aesthetic of repetition, that it became a really new experience, a new auditory, a new sort of aesthetic experience. But like a lot of art movements, it gets sort of the following generation kind of waters it down, and it kind of becomes a pop cultural object that loses all of its bite. Think about punk, the way punk is so cheesy now when you see someone in a full punk look, or maybe Andy Warhol, who was really a true visionary and predicted so many things that have come true in our current society. But people that followed in his footsteps produced a whole lot of crapola. So anyway, I really have a big distaste for a sort of second or third generation minimalist, which in my view, they tend to take the idea of minimalism as just an excuse to write extremely simplistic and boring music. So anyway, despite all that, still was looking forward to trying the perfume. They mentioned that it's inspired by things he works with, like graphite, it says vetiver, piano soundboard, cedar, violin bow resin, transistor, magnetic tape. There's also quite a big list on the Comme des Garçons website of emphasizing the real essences, which is interesting because you tend to think of Comme as like an all synthetic brand line of perfumes, but they even give you like sources. So Cade from Spain, cumin, ylang essence from Comoros au Port. Wow. Black pepper essence from Madagascar, pimento, cedarwood, vetiver, and patchouli. So at first spray, I thought it's pretty familiar. It does that Comme des Garçons sort of airy, woody, smoky thing. I was a little bit let down by that because I immediately felt very comfortable with this smell. It was nothing new that I hadn't smelled before. I can't say I remember much of the opening, but I didn't get anything overly weird or reminiscent of like electronics or graphite or anything all that complex in comparison to this long notes list. Just sort of a semi-familiar, maybe slightly more bitter or darkly smoky kind of smell than the more kind of airy white smoke of like the incense series from Comme des Garçons. Maybe something more along the lines of Comme des Garçons Black, but a lot less thick, a lot less faceted than Black, in my opinion. The word cade did come to mind before I looked at the notes, but done in a very light, almost like eau de cologne kind of way with cade. As it dried down, and I can still smell it, I sprayed quite a lot because the sales associate wasn't looking, and I thought this is my chance to get a really good impression of this perfume. I sprayed, it started to really remind me of something. Sorry, suppressing a cough there. More and more and more, and it suddenly hit me. It's something I'd just been retesting. Tom Ford's Black Lacquer. This smells like Tom Ford's Black Lacquer, which makes sense. Woody, lacquer, vinyl. Tom Ford's Black Lacquer is denser for sure. This is sort of like if they released an eau de cologne of Black Lacquer. This maybe has, I take that back. I was gonna say maybe a little more going on the top, but that kind of burned off. But actually the opening of Black Lacquer is quite interesting as well. But I've been wearing Black Lacquer from a sample lately as fall approaches, asking myself, do I need this? And I decided time and again, I don't need it. It's the woody dry down that it's just a little bit flat. It's nice. It's sort of a dark semi-smoky woods, but it just really bores me. And the same can be said of the Max Richter. I do think it's nice that it's such a light take on this sort of dark, smoky, cade, woody scent. But I think for me personally, it just suffers from over familiarity with the brand. If you've never tried anything by Comme des Garçons before and you smell this, it might be a totally brand new experience for you. But for me, basically all my desire to own this perfume was quenched after this testing. Although it's nice, it's nicely done. It's just really unfortunately very predictable within the Comme des Garçons range. I also, last bit of shade. As I'm Googling information, there's a Vogue article that says a fragrance that smells as rich and complex as a Max Richter composition. I think that's like unintentionally ironic because if you smell the perfume, it's not rich and complex at all. And by proxy, it's sort of saying Max Richter's music is not rich and complex. And I would agree with that. So maybe as simplistic and predictable and boring as a Max Richter composition would be my take. So that's CDG Max Richter. There's a little booklet that was on display as well, which unfortunately was for sale. I don't know if they'll give it to you if you buy the fragrance, but I don't know. I read something about that being a collaboration. So that's Max Richter. Now for the much more surprising one was a new one from the Monocle series, which is a collaboration with, I believe Monocle is a publication, like a magazine. This one called Syros. This one really surprised me because I'm very familiar with the other Monocle scents. They're all very naturalistic, again, very woody. Hinoki is kind of a reference woody scent for a lot of people, sort of on the more camphorous green side of woods. And this smelled, at first to me, it smelled very synthetic and very complex and very ambery in comparison to all the other Monocle scents. There's another one, Laurel, which is a nice sort of Angelica forward scent, which often gets compared to French Lover. I think French Lover is better. It's maybe more natural, more refined, but Laurel as a cheaper alternative is really great. I think even better, it's a good replacement or alternative to Frederic Mall's Angélique sous la pluie, which is equally sort of light and fleeting. But anyway, I had no idea what the notes were, which is always an interesting exercise, because the moment I clicked and saw Immortal, I was like, duh, that's what it is. Of course, it really does smell like Immortal. You get those sort of coffee facets, you get that sort of syrupiness. It's a lot more natural now. Now it just kind of smells like Immortal and patchouli. But there was just a lot going on at the beginning. Very aromatic, very spicy. There was, to my nose, sort of a sweet amberiness that's somewhat gone now. But really, really interesting. I'm not sure I like it that much, but it took me for a surprise, which is something better than we can say for the Max Richter. So really different from the other Monocle ones. That's kind of all I can say about it. But is this the season of Immortal? We've got Immortal Solaire, which just came out from Les Indomptables. We have the other Immortal from Voyage Imaginaire. I think for the general public, Immortal is still going to be a hard sell. I don't think we're going to see a beast mode banger designer perfume featuring Immortal anytime soon, but it seems to be making the rounds in the niche world. So some things that the Comme des Garçons website mentions, it says an olfactive impression of Eastern Mediterranean shaped by wild herbs, warm minerals, and sea air. Thyme essence, turmeric, everlasting flower, vetiver, patchouli, and white musks. I suppose the only thing I have is it doesn't evoke for me at all seaside Mediterranean. I guess maybe I've never been there, so it's only in my imagination. Maybe the herbs and the plant life there smell like this, but to me, this is like much richer and more ambery than that image. I don't remember much sort of fresh mineral sea type smell in the opening. So I suppose that's all I can say about that Syros. Go out and try it. Again, if you're in a big city, Comme des Garçons is really easy to come by, but I think outside of that, it can be really hard to get samples. Nose in Paris is a good place, because if you buy one thing, you get to choose a whole bunch of samples, and they carry Comme des Garçons. But really for the price, Comme des Garçons fragrances are so nicely priced, especially as everyone else goes up and up and up. They more or less have stayed the same. It's $120 for 50 mils of this. So yeah, happy sniffing. Let me know if you get to try these. I'm curious to see if anyone else finds these a hit or a miss.